Hi. Now, there's a lot of talk right now about who should testify at Trump's trial in the Senate. And this filthy, pig-fucking Christian named Mitch McConnell, this ugly, gross little man who is doing more damage now than Trump could do in an equal amount of time. And McConnell and Lindsey Graham, these two, you ought to listen. They're all over the Twitter feed and all over the internet. What they said years ago, 20 years ago, when Clinton was being impeached. If you listen to the self-righteous bullshit, I remember I was on the radio in Chicago when Clinton's trial occurred, and I was just blown fucking away about the rhetoric they were using, like Lindsey Graham and some of these white male Christians, the language they were using against Clinton because he had committed perjury, and of course he was. They had four or five. Impeachable offenses against Trump, articles of impeachment. And 3 of them were voted down. 2 of them were confirmed. He was found, damn it. He was not convicted, is the point I'm trying to get to. But the rhetoric that was used by these self-righteous white male Christians against Clinton now has done a 180 because of Trump. Lindsey Graham, I don't know what the fuck happened to him. His mind is totally gone. Just totally gone. That son of a bitch has completely turned around. Mitch McConnell is just a southern white male thug married to a Chinese spy. That's Mitch McConnell. Fuck Mitch McConnell. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, McConnell at this point has said, there ain't going to be no witnesses. We're not going to do anything. I'm already convinced. And this little prick, Lindsey Graham cracker, he won't even read the final report on the impeachment. He's too fucking smart. He's too well aware. He's too knowledgeable. He doesn't have to read what the Democrats put together. And I say the Democrats because the pissy Republicans on that committee, both those committees, refused to participate. Oh, Mr. Trump didn't have a chance to defend himself. That's a fucking lie. He had every chance to defend himself. He had every chance to send witnesses who could have showed up with exculpatory evidence, except for one thing. There is none. That's why he didn't show up, and none of his people did. That's why. And that's why Mitch McConnell, that turtle-looking fucker, is not going to let any of these witnesses testify because McConnell knows the truth. And it's his job to suppress it. Aaron Blake, writing at the Washington Post. One of the sad things about the state of affairs in Trump's impeachment is that there is plenty more to learn, but we may never learn it. Whether you blame that on the Trump administration for ignoring subpoenas or on Democrats for pressing forward without waiting for courts to enforce them, or some combination of the two, the practical effect is that these big decisions are being made with an incomplete set of facts. Democrats have decided they know enough to impeach Trump, of course, but they've also decided to move along apparently without convincing any Republicans. Well, let's stop right there, Aaron. This is not a matter of convincing Republicans. Their fucking brains are in lockdown. They're not going. They're the ones who agree that Trump could kill somebody in the middle of New York and nothing would happen to him. So let's back off. This is the one thing that bothers me about journalists. This what is it called, Kathy? Not this. On the one hand, but on the other hand, what's the term for it right now? No, never mind. Huh? No, never mind. No. Anyway, Aaron Blake writes, Democrats have decided to move along without convincing any Republicans. They can't be convinced. I mean, what do you have to do? What is it you have to show the Republicans when high-ranking members of the Trump administration itself testify that the son of a bitch did what he is accused of doing. What do you need to convince Republicans when you have, what was it, 1,500 state attorney generals or district attorneys across the country sign a letter saying that Trump was a lying son of a bitch, my term, and should be removed from office? What does it take to convince Republicans when somebody like William Webster, the head of the CIA, the FBI, and a federal judge come out on television and say what he said after he wrote the op-ed for the Washington Post? What the fuck? So convince Republicans? How do you do that? The Democrats have rightly concluded they would probably never get enough Senate GOP votes. They need 20 to remove Trump. But it's not inconceivable they could get a few with more damaging evidence, perhaps evidence that Trump directly ordered the Ukraine quid pro quo, for example. Who among us does not believe that Trump did directly order the quid pro quo? Fuck it. Anyway, Democrats are threatening to withhold the articles of impeachment from the Senate, citing McConnell's comments and arguing trial wouldn't be fair. So the upshot of all this, Trump won't be able to claim the Senate had exonerated him. Now this is, who has it said politics ain't beanbag? Nancy Pelosi is nobody to fuck with when righteousness is on her side, justice is on her side, truth is on her side, honor is on her side. You don't fuck with Nancy Pelosi when she has that kind of an arsenal. And what's on Trump's side? A bunch of goddamn pale-faced Christian evangelical white male Republicans. It's possible all of this is just posturing, Aaron Blake writes. Perhaps the two sides are holding out in hopes that it will force the other side to make concessions. Well, Aaron Blake, please, I'm talking to what Aaron Blake wrote. I know he's not going to answer. But what the fuck concession are the Democrats supposed to make? What? They've done everything they could to get this guilty son of a bitch, Trump, to show up and talk, or send his crew, send one of his crew. So who does he send? That crazy little fucker who sat there. What was that crazy guy's name? Huh? No, the crazy former campaign manager. Yeah, I don't remember it either. Anyway, Aaron Blake goes ahead. There will be plenty of negotiating in the days ahead. I don't know what they're going to be negotiating. Most notably over who would be allowed to testify. So, what if we got to hear from new witnesses? In an ideal world, who would they be? Well, Aaron Blake is answering his own question in the piece that he wrote. He suggests, I think, 5 witnesses here. Rudy Giuliani. Oh, he's the guy who really spearheaded all this Ukraine horse shit because he figured, Giuliani being a little bat fucker that he is, he figured, well, you know, I'll just throw enough dirt up in the air and nobody will be able to see anything, and I can convince people that it was Ukraine. Only it wasn't Giuliani who first put that into Trump's head. You know who it was? It was Putin. Giuliani even admitted that his goal was to get somebody in the Ukraine government to announce an investigation of Joe Biden. Not to actually do one, but just to announce one. He told the New York Times in May, Giuliani did, that he was nudging Ukraine, quote, because that information will be very, very helpful to my client, Trump, and may turn out to be helpful to my government. Giuliani, you don't have a government, you rat little fucker. He has also said Trump was supportive of what he was doing and was broadly aware of it. So Giuliani might be one of two people with the most intimate knowledge of whether Trump actually pushed for the quid pro quo with Ukraine. But regardless of whether Giuliani testifies in a Senate trial, it sounds as though Lindsey Graham might have him testify to the Senate Judiciary Committee. I don't think so. The subject would be corruption in Ukraine rather than Trump's actions, but it would at least get him under oath for Senate Democrats to probe him. And that's the reason that Lindsey Graham cracker will never, ever, under any circumstances, not that Giuliani would show up, but Lindsey Graham will never subpoena this guy to come in and sit before Lindsey Graham's committee, the Senate Judiciary Committee. That will never happen because Lindsey Graham fucking knows that the Democrats on that committee, with Giuliani under oath, will ask questions that will be uncomfortable for the president and Giuliani and Lindsey Graham cracker. So forget that. John Bolton, the former security advisor, was, according to several witnesses, the highest-ranking voice of dissent within the administration when it came to the Trump team's dealings with Ukraine. Bolton compared it to a drug deal before he resigned. He encouraged people to register their dismay with lawyers and memorialize it. Write it down, make a recording, do something. And his lawyers have signaled he has a story to tell, sending a letter in early November stating he knows about, quote, many relevant meetings and conversations, end quote. That's the little teaser that John Bolton, he with the big fucking mustache, the Nazi fucking John Bolton, who turns my stomach. But he has information that will implicate Trump up to Trump's earlobes and beyond. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. You have your choice. You can listen to the ranting with the audio podcast or listen and watch me lose control with a video podcast subscription. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.